Hello and welcome. I'm Maria Ressa. Former Philippine President Benigno Aquino said that he would give it at least a year into the Duterte administration before he made any public comments. Well, it's been more than a year. With us, Mr. Aquino, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Maria.
So if we go, the last time we sat together, we went over what you had accomplished in your administration, and it seemed to end on quite a high note. But if you go by what's written on social media now, the way your administration, the Liberal Party, is being talked about, it seems that this legacy has crumbled.
Well, there are people who want to portray it as such. Filipinos have this expression about the mango tree. You know? In Tagalog, it says something like, hindi binabato yung walang bunga. No? Or I think it says it even more positive, ang binabato yung pinakamaraming bunga. So these critics of ours have been at it from way back. And perhaps in an effort to make their supporters shine, they have to bring down the bar, which they know is very high.
It's been a year. How would you gauge where the Philippines is today under 1 year of the Duterte administration?
Bumaliktad ang mundo. You know, there was a period after I stepped down, I was asking, parang iba na talagang tama at mali. Well, at least he made a promise of continuing the economic policies. And to a large degree, I think they have continued, or at least they haven't disturbed what was put in place. And you know, I think a lot of people will agree that what has been established in the 6 years that we were there has given a momentum. And we understand that at the very least, this will continue up to first semester next year, assuming no seismic shocks. Okay. Now, having said that, of course, in terms of international relations, there has been a spate of conflicts that have transpired, and I'm not a believer in fostering conflicts. No? When you want to build something, normally the cooperation is a better route to it. Hopefully that will change, you know? And that better relations with everybody, less conflicts will open up a lot of doors of opportunities for our country and our countrymen.
In the Philippines, every president has been a reaction to the president before him. In many ways, your mom was elected, your mother was elected as a reaction to a dictator. Fidel Ramos was elected as a reaction to your mother, Estrada as a reaction, and you were elected after 10 years of Gloria Arroyo. What did you do that set the stage for a Duterte presidency?
You know, when we started out, there was such apathy, right? So from voting with their feet in prior to 2010, that there is no hope in this country, everything is so rotten, let's move out of the country, to people coming back and then having expectations. I guess there was a lot of, how should I put it, expectations that have been unleashed. Let's say you were already at an 8 or a 9. No? They kept harping on the last 1 or 2. So again, going back, what set the condition for it? Perhaps, I don't know, I think we can argue that they liked what they had under me, but perhaps the segment that supported President Duterte said he can deliver the next step or steps. You know, we need somebody strong to order everybody around with regards to traffic. We need somebody strong that will take care of Tanimbala.
The other thing that came out in the last year was the tremendous anger that simmered in between classes in the Philippines, and that probably helped buoy President Duterte to office.
Well, let me just say that they're very, very good social media. Perhaps they really, I understand they were advised to be that provocative and to make her brand that different. Did we give enough time to communicate everything that we did and to make it understandable by everybody? And of course, it goes beyond the aspect of a Filipino who says, the taas na sarili mo ko, praising yourself. No? I don't know if that's a fault. No? I don't know if that is needed now that, you know, I promised that things will change. They have changed. And I have to tell you, oh, these are the things that have changed. No? Whether my concentration should be in the propaganda aspect or in the substance. No? And we concentrated on the substance, hoping that, you know, the people we'll see whether or not there is a difference. Okay. Now, having said that, again, there's always the attraction of something new. Those who have belief in what we try to do, which we believe are a very significant majority, decided to split up in so many directions.
One of the things we've noticed is that this is my 32nd year as a journalist, I've never seen our society as divided, polarized as now.
I have supporters on social media, and they were saying, on social media it seems that way. But when they asked to show the numbers, there are several instances already that they were not able to do so.
So social media is still very different from reality, is that what you're saying?
In 2007, text blasting seemed to be so effective.
Right.
And the instantaneous of fake news
Yes.
at that point in time was a challenge on how to be able to combat it. No? And by 2010, text blasting was not as effective. People tend to look at it as it's a
That's
joke. Right. It's more often a lie than the truth. And perhaps the rest of social media at this point in time is something that is new. Then after a while, will lose its allure if it continues to foster a bad product.
Interesting.
You can market something, you have the best branding marketing campaign. If it's a lousy product, it's still lousy. And people will shy away from it given enough time. Everybody will give it a try. One trial. We made some mistake, let's give it 2 tries. But if it still keeps on producing the same result, it's an inferior product, then hopefully, it goes.
Last Friday, Mama Sapano, the charges that are now going to be filed by the Ombudsman. Your reaction to that? Were you surprised?
Well, I knew that there will be charges that will be filed after I step down. And
that's happened for every president, right?
But
Post Marcos.
Sometimes you have this sarcastic laugh when you read some of the cases. One says that I think I absconded with gold that never got to the Philippines, which was meant to guarantee the printing of US dollars in Bangkok on the authority of Barack Obama, given to me for use by ASEAN. So of course you laugh at it, but the Ombudsman is so precise that it has to go through what they call the process. We haven't been asked to respond to it, so it's still there, it's pending, it hasn't been dismissed.
Yes.
But I'm not a lawyer, I would say. I think 9.9 out of 10 people will look at this and say, what kind of joke is this? Having said that, in this particular case, the charge was reckless imprudence resulting to homicide, and to which the Ombudsman has determined there is no probable cause. So of course we're happy with that. Now, with regards to the charges of usurpation of authority and violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act by inducing a subordinate to do an illegal act, I was really surprised by that. So I had to ask my lawyers to educate me. How can there be a finding on something that was never complained about? Because the process normally is somebody files a complaint in an affidavit, you file a counter affidavit, refute their allegations. Here, we were never asked to refute anything because we were never asked to comment on this thing. So they were explaining that's the prerogative of the Ombudsman, it's a power even of other fiscals to determine precisely what crime to charge if they feel there's a crime to be charged. So I said, that really gives food for thought. If we are 2 parties to a dispute and you only hear the evidence of one party, then the other party obviously will never be served properly by the evidence of his opponent. So, which is precisely this case. You determine it only from either one side or just from the fiscals or the Ombudsman's point of view. If we were able or we were given the chance to file a response to any of this, then we believe they would have been clarified of what transpired, and then there would have been no charges.
Were you surprised when President Duterte actually defended you?
Yes. I was expected the most he'd probably be quiet. Because earlier that day, if I remember correctly, and previously, Chief Presidential Legal Counsel said, the charge was correct, etc. Time for reckoning. I'm of course paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Secretary Aguirre
Yeah.
also said the same
Correct.
thing. And these alter egos, suddenly have their principal saying something different.
President Duterte won on his campaign against drugs. Your administration didn't really bring that up as a key initiative. Is this a failure in your administration?
I asked my staff to prepare a summary of the report submitted by the Dangerous Drugs Board, which was the system in place when I assumed office. And if you'll notice that the peak was way earlier.
2004.
6.7
Yes.
million. We got in 1.7, dropped to 1.3, then at the tail end, in 2015, became 1.8.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I think the drop from 1.7 and 1.3 says that we really had significant effort. 2015 was the year where, shall we say, the heat from the forthcoming arbitral decision was most pronounced. Of course, I'm not saying there was a third country involvement in here, but a little research will show you where most of the foreigners come from. Of course, it's a complex problem, and our methodology really made a serious demand on adhering to the procedures embodied in the law. We tried to get the participation of various other sectors, including, shall we say, the major studios who had, we had reports that some of their talents were into it. And I don't really recall a major assistance from them. But again, we tried to talk to other countries that could help us. Mexico, for instance, when there was supposed to have been an attempt by the Sinaloa cartel to set up a branch here, we asked China to help us by sharing information, given the fact that most of the foreigners arrested were of Chinese descent. Major source of a component for shabu is ephedrine, and the natural source is supposed to be China.
Yeah.
The artificial is elsewhere. And again, we branch, and of course, drugs is just one aspect. The other aspect is, how do we grow the economy to get the resources to fund the education, the health, the infrastructure, etc.?
The drug war, according to the Philippine National Police, as of January this year, I think they had said that it seemed like an average of 1,000 people killed every month beginning in July.
There was a comment from a friend, actually a friend of my sister's, who had friends in Colombia, and they were in some gathering. I think this friend of my sister's is involved in several NGOs. Probably it's either health or education. Anyway, these friends of theirs from Colombia said something. Why are you copying what we did? The only result was producing children, victims of extrajudicial killings on both sides, who are now of age, who are filled with hatred, bitterness, anger, frustration. And you have to wonder about the ones that I read about in the papers of the children who survived and what they witnessed. What happens to them afterwards? What happens to them when they're in their late teens, early 20s? What's in store for us down the line as a country for people who might not have redress in the systems in place?
And China, right? You made some critical decisions on China.
When we were entering into it, I asked both the legislative and the judicial departments to sit down in a meeting with us and to discuss whether or not to go to arbitration.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the judicial section declined because there might be cases filed before them. The Congress, under then Senate President Enrile and the Speaker Belmonte, both agreed that this was really the best recourse for us. Now, having said that, entering into it, and the reason I asked them to participate was they could have gone, the dangers, they could have rendered the decision opposite to everything we wanted.
Of course, of course.
And that was the major risk.
But
So when they came up with that favorable decision,
the Philippines won. could have set the trend for both the region in terms of initiating a new round of
Yes.
negotiations with China. How did you feel when it went down a different path and our policy to the U.S. and China shifted?
Well, but somebody once said, no, politics is the art of the possible. No? And we want to be reasonable. I think we've always been reasonable as far as China is concerned. China is under a communist party, and it's as you know, their armed forces are the protectors of the party, respond to the party and not to the people. You know? It's the be-all and end-all of everything there. It can never be wrong. It always has to be right. So we know the difficulty of managing, they have this phrase of managing their constituencies and domestic stability. So we recognize the fact that if today they sleep, all of this is ours, and tomorrow they wake up and they say, oh, by the way, we made a mistake for the past, I don't know how many decades. No, that this is not ours. We know the difficulty and the potential instability that might be caused. So you will not want to force them to, what's the phrase the younger ones say, now. But there has to be, at some point, an agreement that, yes, we're headed towards that direction. Let's just be reasonable about it.
Yes.
So perhaps we can look at it at that point in view. No? Of course, we recognize your pressures, your tensions, your limitations, but let's discuss something, even if it cannot be made public right now, that we are headed towards a direction where we really resolve to determine all our obligations and all our rights.
There's Marawi and ISIS. In your administration, you never admitted the presence of ISIS in the Philippines.
No, we said that there were a lot of people, because what was being shown to me by the intelligence sector were pictures of people with an ISIS flag who didn't look like combatants. Even when this Marawi siege started, the first pictures that came out were all in these uniforms. And they reminded me of when ISIS was started in the Middle East. And, you know, Middle East, sand, dusty, and all their uniforms were kind of pristine. So the ones in Marawi, of course, with the grainy pictures that I could see in the media, had the same thing. This is the first day that they're using that. No. We had an encounter, I think it was in Basilan, against the Abu Sayyaf, and there was a Moroccan citizen who was killed. And I was told then by the intelligence services that they believed that this guy was present precisely to convince our local Muslim ideologues to embark on a suicide bombing. And I was told that he was not successful. Now, more or less the same people who were claiming affiliation with Jamia Islamiyah and through them with Al-Qaeda were the same people who were saying that they were ISIS. And what was reported by, again, the intelligence sector centered on all of the propaganda on the net rather than they being able to embark on any operation. So we were concentrated in those that really existed. No? Again, Abu Sayyaf. Marwan was part of Jamia Islamiyah involved in the Bali bombing. Those were real threats to us.
Yes. Did Marawi surprise you?
Yes. I don't know if I'm stereotyping. Marawi, Maranao, Trader. I think if we had problems there, they were more on the peace and order situation, drugs in particular. An LGU that was allegedly was involved in so many illegal activities. In Lanao, power, electricity,
Yes.
in particular, the debt that they owe, pollution of Lake Lanao. Never an insurgency or never a rebellion.
In terms of the reaction to Marawi, a declaration of martial law in Mindanao.
Well, I keep being asked whether or not is there justification, and I have to say, sir, what is my information? Basically, what's on the media?
Yes.
No, and so what is the test? The test is rebellion at one point was defined to me as taking up of arms, with the end in view of depriving the government of its authority over any part of the national territory. So the pictures, if the pictures are real, and I assume they're real, I have no evidence to say that they're not, people in pseudo uniforms, raising flags, armed, taking over portions of Marawi at least. No? So, is there a need for martial law? We considered doing the same in Sulu. Why did we consider it in Sulu? Delegation is the Abu Sayyaf is such a persistent problem because they are linked to corrupt LGUs. They're linked to, they influence quite a number of communities that perform various services for them. They have cooperators for subspecialties like the actual kidnapping or the negotiating. They've turned it to an industry. They're perceived as Robin Hood.
Right.
So I said, I think this was like the last 3 months of my term. If we impose martial law, does that help you? And their opinion was that it wasn't, at that point in time, it wouldn't help. So we didn't impose it. So here, we have quite a long-lasting, supposed to be siege of Marawi. And you know, let's wait, no? Until it's over, then let's see what actually transpired there. Can we see everything that has been said about why it took so long?
Are you worried? Should we be worried about strongman rule?
My problem is I asked the guidance for the implementation of martial law. In 1972, President Marcos came out and said, you know, close down all the everything, and then came out on TV and said, I am imposing martial law. And after him, it was then Minister Tatad,
Yes.
no, who came out and started saying all of the general orders, you know, saying these are the things under martial law. So we asked the implementing rules or orders here, and what we got was a single page from the D&D memo. I don't know if you've seen this thing. And reading through it, basically it restates what's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
So long as that is being carried out, I don't think we have an issue.
When you were president, did you ever want to control the media?
Yes, in all honesty.
Yeah.
No, but we tried to appeal so many times, no? And I don't think it amounted to anything. In fact, after I stepped down, I managed to look at clips from one of the major broadcasters and how petty and how fault-finding they were. Just this weekend, I had to talk, you know, I talked to various friends, associates, colleagues, etc. And the persistent thing was, one, we failed to communicate what we had done. Okay? Second, why is it that media during our watch complained about the flimsiest and tiniest things and seems to be a little quiet these days? Perhaps when you ask me what led into the current situation, then I think I can throw the media the same question. When you were hypercritical of everything that we do, when you were belittling it, when you were hiding what we were accomplishing, you know, are you not also party to laying the conditions for what is transpiring now? And if at some point in time you have a similar crossroads, you know, hopefully you will have a different attitude. But having said that, I think in all honesty, you know, and I can lay my hand on any Bible, we never suppressed anybody's rights. There were times we were so tempted when things were so libelous, but you know, I don't think we ever filed any charges for libel on anybody.
There's no effective opposition right now. There's a supermajority in Congress. Liberal Party decided to join the majority for a period of time. Why is there no opposition at a time of crucial change?
Well, I think several our members have been very, very vocal also, no? Edsel Lagman,
Yes.
Teddy Bagilan.
Yes, of course.
And,
But Liberal
and
Party
others,
as a
no?
whole has essentially...
We spent time reflecting on what we managed to accomplish. Could we have done it better? Where were we wrong? And of course, everything was thrown at us as a party for the first year. But having said that, we're almost finished with the transition to the new set of leaders. They gave me the title of Chairman Emeritus, and I said, you know, the only other person I'm aware of that was given that title was Jovi Salonga. And I think there's a few years difference between us. Perhaps I should not be, you know, give me the a title of Dakilang Alalay of Kiko Pangilinan might be a little bit more appropriated rather than Chairman Emeritus. But having said that, perhaps not being in power has given us the time to be able to educate our people better, as opposed to compressing everything. You know, I was saying, I not only had to campaign for the candidates that we were supporting, I had to run the country also. And after all of that, I had to manage all the egos of so many people and address any issue that happens to any Filipino in the world. No? Now, now, perhaps we can talk to the groups that are still our supporters first, those that want to support us, those that used to support us, and then really explain, okay, I'll go back to the investments in the 4 Ps. Foreigners are saying, you're so courageous now, you won't be producing results in your term, but you're going to invest in that aspect.
Without a credible opposition, what checks power?
You know, at the end of the day, I think it will be, it's chicken and egg.
Yeah.
For instance, I ask myself, when people say, we miss you, then after a few sentences, we need a leader. Then they look at you. And I actually ask myself, now, what is my role right now? Then, is it better for the country to have a leader, a opposition bloc, and everybody follows? Or should the purported leaders wait, as I said before, no? The people are my bosses. No? Should I wait for what my bosses want? If somebody, I'd like to disabuse everybody of the notion that we as a people have problems that we can, and the traditional solution is pass it on to somebody who will bear it for us. I think that has to stop. So I keep asking myself, is the current situation something that we have to undergo as a people? Does if you are not satisfied with the situation, does it prompt you to take action? Then or should it be traditional? Somebody comes into your area and tries to educate you, enlighten you, and mobilize you. Now, perhaps if it starts from the grassroots and goes up, then the permanency of change is better. We expect that those values are even more so here, and perhaps they're waiting for an avenue to be expressed. Now, those who are speaking anonymously, probably if they're real people, they might not even believe what they're posting, because this is a virtual reality thing, so it's not really real; it's fantasy. Hopefully, or some might be too pragmatic about it. It's a job for me. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think the vast majority, given the right opportunity, will respond in the traditional Filipino values.
How did you react in seeing all the changes this year from the 6 years you were in office?
Yeah, for a short time, I was surprised. Perhaps I was surprised, shocked. I was convinced by, how should I put it, the alternative media that yes, everybody hates us so much. Then all I have to do is step outside. How many people will want a picture taken? How many people will discuss just a few things? How many people say thank you? How many people chase my car just to say, sir, I'm so lucky I saw you. Yeah, and I said, was it Sesame Street? One of these things does not belong.
Yeah.
So, and that is not an unusual occurrence. And of course, I'd say there was a time I would say, at certain places, they're not as warm to me as others. But even in those warm places, so long as somebody starts asking for, can we have a selfie? Even the older set who don't know actually how to get a selfie, ask for one. So, and some will actually wait in certain areas that they know I'm coming to and get, 30-second interaction with the cell phone. So, if the things that we did are hated, then I think there'll be a lot more people shying away or cursing me or something, rather than those who are thanking and praising.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you.
We've been speaking with Philippines' former President Noynoy Aquino a little more than a year after he stepped down from office. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for joining us.